What's going on, fire team? Welcome to Shift Fire. We are here with Cris the cop, current SWAT commander. My friend, thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
So Cris, what does a SWAT team consist of? What are its component parts?
They can differ from state to state, they can differ from city to city, and they even differ from department to department. Most teams will have a makeup of what we call SWAT operators. That's the main body of the actual SWAT team. These are the officers that will be making entry, they'll be doing perimeter, and then we'll have a sniper component. The team that I'm on, we have 4 snipers and they have their spotters. We're kind of stealing from the military. We're stealing those tactics because your tactics have been battle proven already. You have already established scouts and all this type of stuff, and that's another part of the component with the SWAT teams. We actually have scouts. When we're going to hit a location, we'll send our scouts to go and map it out, draw up the maps, let us know what the best entry point's going to be, our backup entry point. Then we have our TAC med component. The TAC med, a lot of people think that it's just for the officers on the team. It's actually for everybody. If something were to happen to a suspect or a civilian, our TAC med would get in gear on that. And then we have a crisis negotiation team. This is a new component on the SWAT teams. The days of us just breaking down doors and rushing in and that type of stuff after a suspect is now gone. We do what we call a surround call out. Unless there's a situation that prompts us that we have to run in, for the most part, you're going to know the SWAT team is there. We're going to arrive, we're going to be loud, we're going to surround the entire location, we're going to use a PA system and ask the people to come out. So on the crisis negotiating team side, what they do is they establish some type of dialogue with the persons inside of the business or the home, and hopefully we'll come to a peaceful resolution that way before we have to actually breach a door.
Kicking in doors, that sounded familiar to me because that's a lot of what we did very early in the morning in Iraq. You have a crisis negotiation team now. What caused that change for you to add that component?
Overall, across the United States, we started to see SWAT operations were being very critiqued. There's a lot of unfortunate stories revolving teams that someone got hurt and unfortunately some people did get killed. In today's state of our country, they want us to slow down. When we're in that HRT mode, it's because either A, we know someone on the other side of that door is going to be hurt or killed, and that's the time that we'll actually go back to our original tactics of breaking doors down using flashbangs. But today, it's all about, hey, you know what? There's no reason that we can't slow this down, do what we call that surrounding call out.
And it's very interesting because comparing it to my experience in the training I received in the Ranger Regiment, we were kind of near the end of the global war on terrorism, and we pretty much utilized those call out techniques as well. It was either a direct action raid where we are going in, explosively breaching, all the you want to do, but then there was also times where we also took that step back and we utilized the call out method.
When you guys were deployed in another country, you were able to break doors down. Here in the United States, the 4th and 14th Amendment protect that. We got to have a warrant, first of all. I'm sure for your raids, you're not going to let the enemy know you're on the other side of that door.
Nope.
For us, it's knock on the door. Hello, police department, we have a search warrant, and we actually have to give the person time to open the door before we ram it.
It's funny, we're talking differences between military and police tactics, but there's even differences between when you were in and when I was in. When I was in Iraq in 2008, it was always 0 dark 30, 3, 4 a.m. We didn't want anybody to know we were there. We would cordon off the area, we'd slowly move in, set charges, blow the door open, come in screaming. Being in a foreign country, there are rules of engagement, ROE, and then you have to deal with the Constitution because we're on American soil.
Remember, law enforcement has to wait for the suspect's actions. I have to wait for that suspect to actually do something before I'm able to utilize some type of force.
Military side, we were going somewhere else and fighting the good fight. We were going after terrorist cells, IED facilitators, but on the LEO side, you guys are our domestic force. There's bad stuff going on in our country as well, but these are Americans, right? We need to treat them as such. We have the Constitution for a reason.
You asked the question like, why do I think things changed? When SWAT teams were first established, you have to remember, we had to take someone's tactics, and that was the military.
Yeah.
So the military had already this established tactics, this established equipment, because a lot of people will say that law enforcement is becoming militarized. What they don't realize is a lot of the gear that we now have on law enforcement is actually made for law enforcement. Like the armored vehicles, those are not military vehicles. Sure. Those are civilian vehicles. A lot of our vests now are designed for our needs. So a lot of the equipment today that we once procured from military are no longer utilized, and we're now utilizing our own equipment made by civilian companies. Now, going back to the reason why things changed is we started to evolve. Where we started with the military idea and concept, now as years went on, we started to have our own schools.
I truly believe that LEO and military share a love of gear. And I mean,
Yeah.
our props back here, not actual prop. Your police vest, my plate carrier, you carry what, 2 mags on you, 1 in the gun, versus my 7 and 1 in the gun, right? So huge difference between even our equipment setups.
Today, unfortunately, a lot of our bad guys are now armed with rifle-rated firearms. That round will go right through a level 1, 2, or 3 vest.
Yep.
What is even more astounding to me is the amount of guns we're pulling off of people. I think at my department alone, we probably pull about 3 to 5 guns off of people a week.
I'm a firm believer in the Second Amendment. All Americans should be able to own firearms.
Absolutely.
You know, but are these firearms that you're finding on the street in the hands of felons or perpetrators, are they legally owned?
No, they're not legally owned. They're ghost guns. They're guns that have been stolen. They're guns that are imported from other countries. These are not guns that a gang member walked into a store, waited their 10 days in California,
Sure.
and then decided to use their gun in a crime.
So earlier you mentioned that you don't throw flashbangs anymore. That was like, we were throwing those things out like candy, man. We were on the road.
Once again, when I first started, I remember every operator had a flashbang on their vest. In fact, we have a bag called the fourth man bag, and the reason why it's called the fourth man bag is the fourth man in the stick would carry this bag of extra bangs.
Yeah.
They were flashbangs, they were stinger grenades, CS. The likelihood today of us using bangs, it has to be a really good reason to have that distraction. I definitely know of these stories because of the training classes I've gone through where bangs were blindly thrown through a room, and unfortunately one landed in a crib, hurt a child very bad. Another one was thrown into a part of a room where the operator didn't see where the bang went. It hurt some people. Today, we're very methodical. We use mirrors. Optawan does not exist. You gamers that are out there is no Optawan. We have to still use mirrors and dogs. Normally when we throw bangs, it's on the outside for that distraction factor.
We would carry 3 to 4 on a person, and then like 3 more, 2 more on your back. Speed, surprise, violence of action. The principles of close quarter battle, right?
The acronym you just used, I've only heard when we've talked. We're gonna slow down, we're gonna go in very methodically. I think an HRT would be the only time, and that's a hostage rescue. That's when we're gonna go in fast.
Absolutely.
We're gonna go in fast and hard. We're gonna throw flashbangs. I've been part of hostage rescues that wound up in an officer-involved shooting, and what saved us was the actual utilization of a flashbang.
It sounds like from what you're telling us that you have to have a wide variety. You have to have a lot of versatility on the team. You have to be ready for a wider variety of situations than one might encounter in a war zone in a foreign country.
Yeah. If I found myself on a SWAT team now, I'd probably be wearing an orange jumpsuit.
We have different missions. So based upon that mission will be based upon who does what. Our breachers, of course, our breachers need to be big guys to get in there, break that door down. Sometimes we don't need that element, like scouts. You don't need that breacher being a scout. We need, the smallest person or the person who can fit in to do that scouting mission.
Sure. Well, Cris, thank you so much for joining us
Absolutely,
today.
man.
Thank you for sharing your insights as a SWAT commander. Thank you so much for joining us, folks. Leave a comment in the comments section. Hit that subscribe button.
Hold on. And definitely hit that like button. I've been on SWAT now for 22 plus years.
Jesus.
Yes, that explains the gray.
Yeah.